...2016 will go down in history as the year America woke up to the fact that our elections are rigged. My name's Howard Riell. This is Real Truth. You're listening to the American Freedom Network, streaming live around the world at AmericanNewsNet.com and on Facebook and YouTube and Tumblr and in the book, Real Truth, Stay Angry. And of course, as always, broadcasting out across the Colorado Front Range on KHNC, Johnstown, Colorado, 1360 AM, The Lion. Our call-in number, 877-254-7524. My friends, it's true. It has always been true. Well, not always. You go back to the early last century and beyond into the 1800s, I'm fairly convinced that most elections were on the up and up. But once the money got big, and once the power got big, and once the special interests got big and bigger and huge, well, there went democracy. No one has pointed that out. No one has shone a light on that until now. Until Donald Trump has. Case in point. Item from secretsofthefed.com, Dateline, Denver, Colorado. The 2016 election has been a wild ride, with two insurgent grassroots campaigns literally giving the political establishment a run for its money. But as the events of this presidential primary season play out, it's becoming clear the U.S. election, and even more so the presidential race, is a big scam being perpetrated on the American people. Events from the last week have exposed the system as an illusion of choice and a farce. They have reinforced at least one study showing the U.S. is an oligarchy rather than a democratic republic. The Wyoming Democratic Caucus took place on Saturday, purportedly to allow voters to have their voices heard in the race between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. Sanders lost the Wyoming caucus by winning it with a 12% margin. Wait, what? How does one lose by winning 56% of the votes? This happens when the political process is, according to the New York Post, rigged by superdelegates. The Post summed up this, quote, strange phenomenon by saying the following. Under the Democratic Party's oddball delegate system, Sanders' winning streak, he's won 7 out of the past 8 contests, counts for little. In fact, despite his win, he splits Wyoming's 14 pledged delegates 7-7 under the caucus calculus. Clinton, meanwhile, also gets the state's 4 superdelegates who had already pledged their allegiance to her in January. So despite losing, she triumphs 11-7 in the delegate tally. Even media pundits on MSNBC openly call the process rigged. Unquote. My friends, if you want to take a minute and look for a napkin or a handkerchief or a towel to wipe the spit off of your face, go right ahead. Make no mistake about it. You may not feel it physically, but that spit is there on your face. Put there by the political machinery. Put there by the Democratic politicians and the Republican politicians. By the machines, by the parties, which, by the way, the Founding Fathers warned us about over 2 centuries ago. They said political parties would end up being the death of America, and you see that they were right. Item from the Hill. Donald Trump basked in his New York primary victory from Trump Tower on Tuesday night, declaring that the GOP presidential nominating process is all but over. We don't have much of a race anymore, Trump said, adding that rival Ted Cruz is just about mathematically eliminated. Trump is poised to take a strong majority of New York's 95 delegates on Tuesday night. Unquote. Just an addendum, I was watching TV before. He won at least 91 of those delegates. They're not finished counting. He may end up with more. I continue. Cruz is on track for a 3rd place finish and possibly getting shut out. Stop! Cruz has been shut out. As of this morning, Cruz will receive 0 delegates in New York State. As a native New Yorker, I can't help but brag about the fact that New Yorkers are a sharp bunch. bunch. You cannot BS a New Yorker. We smell fakeness. We smell hypocrisy, and that's why Cruz won't walk away with a single delegate. What happened to Hillary? When I say New Yorkers are sharp, I don't mean the liberals in New York. Cruz is on track for a third-place finish, blah, 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 which would bring him close to being mathematically eliminated from winning the nomination before the Republican National Convention in July. Still, Cruz will soldier on, hoping to block Trump from securing the 1,237 delegates he needs to avoid a contested convention. We've won millions more votes than Senator Cruz, millions and millions more than Governor John Kasich, Trump said. We're really, really rocking. We expect we'll have an amazing number of weeks. For Trump, Tuesday's victory and several weeks of losses to Cruz at party conventions in states, including Colorado and Wyoming. Stop, my friend's question. Have you ever had your pocket picked? Most people haven't, but some of you have. I used to ride the New York City subways every day. I did that for about 12 years, and believe me, there is nothing except tight pants that will prevent someone from taking your wallet. People in Colorado, people in Wyoming have had their pockets picked. The voters across America are having their pockets picked. Democrat or Republican, doesn't matter. You put your wallet in your pants because that's yours. Next thing you know, it's gone. Who took your wallet? Hillary Clinton or Ted Cruz? Who stole your wallet? Hillary Clinton or Ted Cruz? Because they are each part of the machine. The machine wants to rob us blind because it has robbed us blind for decades and decades. The machine wants to debilitate us, disempower us, disenfranchise us, and they're doing a good job. Finally, at long last, the media is being forced to acknowledge this fact. So wipe the spit off your face, and then I want you to feel around inside your mouth. I want you to check and see that your gold fillings are still there. Because if they're not, you know who took them. Hillary Clinton or Ted Cruz, backed by their political parties. What's that you say? You're pissed? You want to do something about it? Good. If you haven't already voted, vote for Trump. He's the only one who's going to do anything about it. And then get involved, get angry, get busy, get active. I've said it before. If you're not an actor, you're not a factor. It's Wednesday on Real Truth, my friends. I'll be back. Hey, Cody, it's me. I just cut myself off.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. Hope Felons Radiator Shop reminds us child abuse is America's saddest crime. Child abuse is not just some other family's problem. If you or anyone you know needs help, call your local authority. This message from friends at Fort Collins Radiator Shop, 417 Jefferson Street in Fort Collins, serving the community for over 47 years. For all your
appreciate you being with us. I think the number one question on the minds of Republicans right now is what is going on with the delegates.
And of his fullness we have all received,
being with us.
and grace for grace. For the law was given through Moses, but grace and truth came through Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ. No one has seen God at any time. The only begotten Son, who is in the bosom of the Father, He has declared him. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 16.
Invitation more for the other people.
Good to be with you today.
We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
Okay. My friends, welcome back to Real Truth. It is one of the verities of life that politicians lie. It has become another verity of life that the media lies. Well, there are a few people in the media who do not lie. I'm one of them. Sean Hannity of Fox News is another. Here's Sean, not on Fox News, but on his radio show, interviewing a liar by the name of Ted Cruz. He's about to do something I think is just fantastic. He's going to confront Ted Cruz with his lies, and when Cruz goes on to lie some more, Hannity will have none of it. This is a great video, by the way. You'll find the link on my Facebook page, Real Truth Radio. Listen.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we appreciate you being with us. I think the number one question on the minds of publicans right
Cody, I'm sorry. I did it again. Put me right back on. All right, guys, a little technical glitch. I apologize. Let's go to Sean Hannity interviewing Ted Cruz.
now is what is going on with the delegates. For example, if you can explain to people that your campaign, that you have every right within the rules to talk to candidates that are pledged on the first ballot to candidate A or candidate C, you being candidate B, and that tell us what that process is. You're assuming this is going to the convention. You told me that in the last two interviews. So as part of that, you're hoping to get to a second ballot. In other words, in a second ballot, people that support Donald Trump or John Kasich or Marco Rubio, if those delegates are still relevant, can then switch their votes. So you are in a process talking to delegates, and it seems to be very extensive. Can you explain to people what's going on?
Sean, with all respect, that's not what people are concerned about. I'm campaigning every day. People are concerned about bringing jobs back to America. People are concerned about raising wages. People are concerned about getting the federal government off the backs of small businesses. And people are concerned about beating Hillary. And the media loves to obsess about the process. This process and this whining from the Trump campaign is all silly. It's very, very simple.
Senator, hang on a second. Senator, I'm on social media with millions of people. I have 550 radio stations, and I have the top-rated cable show in my hour all across the board. And I am telling you that people are telling me that they find this whole process confusing. You know, I can read the articles, for example, about, you know, what people want to know what actually happened in Georgia this weekend, where people that, I guess, on the first ballot are going to Donald Trump, but representatives of yours talk to them and are persuading them to vote for you on a second ballot. That is an important question, because I think most people would like to know how this works, and I really am asking you, it's more than a process question. It's an integrity of the election question, and everybody's asking me this question, so I'm giving you an opportunity to explain it.
Sean, the only people asking this question are the hardcore Donald Trump supporters.
Why do you do this every single time no, you got to stop. Every time I have you on the air and I ask a legitimate question, you try to throw this in my face. I'm getting sick of it. I've had you on more than any other candidate on radio and TV. So if I ask you, Senator, a legitimate question to explain to the audience, why don't you just answer it?
Sean, can I answer your question without being interrupted?
Go ahead.
In the last 3 weeks, there have been 5 elections in 5 states: Utah, North Dakota, Wisconsin, Colorado, Wyoming. We've won all 5. Over 1.3 million people voted in those 5 states. We won all 5. All of this noise and complaining and whining has come from the Trump campaign, because they don't like the fact that they've lost 5 elections in a row, that Republicans are uniting behind our campaign, so they're screaming on Drudge, and it's getting echoed. This notion of voterless election, it is nonsense. They are making it up. Over 1.3 million people voted. We won landslide in all 5. Now, there is a second component beyond the elections, which is the individual delegates are elected by the people. Donald Trump's campaign does not know how to organize on the grassroots. And so when the delegates are elected, conservative activists, real conservative activists show up and they elect delegates, and we are winning those elections over and over and over again. The Donald Trump campaign doesn't know what they're doing. They don't show up. In Colorado, the Donald Trump team was handing out flyers asking their supporters supporters to vote for a slate of delegates. They included Cruz delegates on their slate. They just didn't even know how to type up a piece of paper without getting it wrong. In Washington State, when Washington State elected their delegates, 3 days before the election, the Donald Trump campaign in a panic realized Washington State was getting ready to elect their delegates. They sent out an emergency email to their Washington supporters, but they screwed up and sent it to their Washington, D.C. supporters instead of their Washington State supporters.
You know, my friends, listen to this. Listen to what Cruz is saying. He's not addressing the fact that Americans are voting for Trump. He's addressing the process. He's addressing the ground game. He's addressing which pieces of paper got handed out. And so I'm going to ask you directly, who do you want for president? Someone who can lead this country in a positive direction, or someone who knows how to win over delegates, how to play a ground game, how to get the right pieces of paper out, and how to, I won't use the word bribe, which other people have used, how to influence people to change the votes that they've been appointed to file? Do you want a president who can lead, or a president who can sneak around with an effective ground game? I don't care if the president I vote for has a good ground game. A good ground game isn't going to get America out of the hole that it's in. America overwhelmingly, Republicans overwhelmingly are voting for Trump, and Cruz is going around picking pockets, and I'm offended by it. Let's listen to some more of his sniveling lies.
I cannot help that the Donald Trump campaign does not seem capable of running a lemonade stand. Elections are won by voters and grassroots activists showing up and voting for the candidate they support. And we are winning election after election after election, and nobody, as I travel the country, nobody is asking me this other than the Trumpsters and people repeating it. What they're asking is, how do we beat Hillary? And how do we bring back jobs? My focus is on jobs, freedom, and security, not this incessant whining from the other side. If you lose, don't cry about it. Go back and learn how to win an election.
Well, it's nice for Cruz to say, if you lose, don't whine about it. He loses and then sends his people out to steal delegates, to influence delegates, to flip delegates. If you lose a state, leave it alone. Go on. If the popular vote will not elect you, don't go around picking pockets, because it's disgusting, it's slimy, and it's everything I would expect from someone who came up through the political ranks through the Bush family establishment. It's everything I would expect from someone whose wife is a managing director at the king of the banksters, Goldman Sachs. And it's everything I would expect from someone whose wife is a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, which only exists to disempower the American people. America's catching on to this. America's catching on to this. Reince Priebus has a big Klieg light focused on his face, because millions of people, and now even politicians, some politicians, even the media, God help us, are saying, hey, you know, Reince, we get a lot of heat about this stealing the election thing. Maybe it's not the best idea. Wait. The political class will not be deterred. They intend to continue to try to steal the election from Trump. But now it's out in the open. Thanks to some in the media, and if you'll permit me, I like to include myself in that, shining a light on this disgusting political chicanery. It's out in the open. Now it's up to Americans who now have been clued in to the process. We now know exactly how nefarious it is and how slimy Ted Cruz and his establishment partners are. It's up to us in the states to come, Indiana, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, and all the rest. You can only vote for Trump because anyone else will swindle the American people, will cheat the American people, disempower the American people, and finish the job of gunning the United States of America. Let's continue.
This election is all about.
My question is rooted in this. As I've gone and I've been reading in every state, a lot of people are under the impression that after a state votes or caucuses, that the process is over. most people, believe it or not, senators, are not as deeply knowledgeable as you are about what happens with the delegates after. For example, this weekend, I think you could actually use the term, it was like a delegate bloodbath for Donald Trump, according to Politico. They used those words. And I'll quote Politico, quote, in Georgia, in Wyoming, in South Carolina, in Kansas, in Florida, Ted Cruz put on a clinic mobilizing his GOP activist base to capture at least 50 delegates on Saturday, while Trump came away with about a dozen in another bruising defeat that undermines his chances to become the Republican presidential nominee. Ted Cruz is now closed within nearly 200 delegates of Donald Trump. So what I'm trying to ask and ascertain is, can you explain to people what exactly happens in these moments? It's a simple question. It's not a Trump question. It's a question about what's going to happen. You're arguing, Kasich is arguing that this is going to be settled at the convention, and I think people need to understand it because, most people don't.
The first point is that we are winning election after election after election in Utah, in North Dakota, in Wisconsin.
Yeah, he said that before.
Colorado and Wyoming. 1.3 million people, over 1.3 million people voted, and we won landslides in all five. And let's be clear, those are very different states. You compare Wyoming.
My friends, this is what a politician does. You ask him, is it A or B, and he'll tell you about Q and W. Is this what you want for the presidency? This kind of slimy answer? He's being asked direct questions by Sean Hannity, and you can move heaven and earth. He will not give a direct answer. Donald Trump's ruffled a lot of feathers. Why? Because he gives direct answers. And he tells you the truth. Isn't that what you want in a president and a chief executive? Do you want this kind of slime? All right, let's listen for one more minute.
Or North Dakota that are plain states and western states. You compare that to Wisconsin, which is an upper Midwest state, an industrial state.
Yeah, now he's telling us all about the various states and just by coincidence avoiding answering the question. You know what? I'm done with this video. I take personal offense at having my intelligence insulted. I haven't got much to begin with. But to have my intelligence insulted by a politician who will not answer a question directly or honestly. Guys, aren't you insulted? Why are you bothered the teeniest, weeniest little bit by the fact that in Colorado you weren't allowed to vote? Doesn't it bother you? Bothers me. And all these other states, not only Trump, also Bernie Sanders, where they win the popular election and they come up short on delegates. That's the big steal. That's the little steal. The big steal is what would happen at the convention. But it's dirty pool, it's dishonest, it's slimy, and it's politics as usual, which is why we cannot afford to have a professional politician in the White House. We need a professional un-politician. Only one of them running. Only one guy who has built an empire. A successful, profitable, world-class empire, as opposed to politicians who talk and talk and talk and talk and lie and take money under the table. I think America's saying we've had enough. I hope enough Americans will say we've had enough. Because there's a very, very real danger that if this does go to the convention in Cleveland in July, Trump will be cheated out of his nomination. We will be cheated out of our candidate and out of our vote and out of democracy. This is the kind of crap that happens in the banana republics down in South and Central America. We must not and we dare not allow it to happen here anymore. Trump is not owned. And if nothing else, that is reason enough to vote for Trump. The establishment has been bit by bit, bite by bite, debilitating and destroying America and Americans, and it's got to stop. If it doesn't stop now, with a guy like Trump who's able to run for president without accepting special interest money, then it never will stop, and America will be done. And will be done as a society. Let's take a break. Real Truth continues. Stick around.
believes in helping you use your garage to its fullest potential. That's why we're offering great deals on the things you'll want in your garage, like the Honda CR-V. The best-selling SUV in America comes with a standard...
Fox News contributor Laura Ingram is standing by. Laura, good to see you. Your take on tonight and also the battle that is emerging in terms of if a candidate doesn't get to 1237, well, you might say Fox News contributor. From Trump Tower in New York City. Now was a big night for Donald Trump in the Empire State. Now, Fox News is now projecting that Trump will win the New York GOP primary. Ohio Governor John Kasich is coming in second place. Senator Ted Cruz, he will come in third. And joining us now, by the way, on the Democrat. And welcome. Contributor Laura Ingram is standing by. Laura, good to see you. Fox News.
PlainsSolar.com. He was in the world was made through him, and the world did not know him. He came to his own, and his own did not receive him. But as many as received him, to them he gave the right to become children of God, to those who believe in his name, who were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 10 through 13. Article 4. The right of the people to be secure in their person, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the places to be searched and the persons or things to be seized.
All right, guys, welcome back to Real Truth. I'm throwing it back to Sean Hannity. This is from Fox News last night, late at night in New York, after the polls closed and it became clear that Donald Trump had won the New York primary. He had Laura Ingram, a conservative radio talk show host. You know, those are the best people in the world. Had her on the show, and the question he asks her, and she gives a very good answer. How far will the GOP establishment go in order to stop Trump? That seems to be the question of the year. Here's Sean Hannity, Laura Ingram. Go.
Contributor Laura Ingram is standing by. Laura, good to see you. Your take on tonight and also the battle that is emerging in terms of if a candidate doesn't get to 1237, well, you might say enticements that might be going on, certainly the courting of delegates to switch for a second ballot vote. Your thoughts?
Sean, I don't even think the question tonight, after watching this massive victory by Trump in New York, is whether he gets to 1237. He may not. But unless something really wacky happens over the next 4 to 6 weeks, he's going to go into that convention with the most delegates and the most votes. And tonight's exit poll showed that 70% of New Yorkers said that the person with the most delegates and most votes should become the nominee. So the only question I think after tonight, and after, as Rudy pointed out, the broad victories he'll have in the Northeast, he'll have in the South, he'll have in a place like New York, out in Arizona. The only question is, how far will the Republican establishment go to kill off this guy who is the most popular of all the other candidates? Now, this is analysis. This is not an endorsement of Trump. This is an analysis. How far will Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan and all the other people who say, oh, they're not putting their finger on the scale, but come on. I mean, we heard Mitch McConnell today. We heard Paul Ryan talk about the negative tone. Meanwhile, Sean, we're hearing about Trump staffers being blacklisted if they ever try to work again. Now, who has the bad tone now? Is it Trump, or is it the GOP establishment that seems like it's pulling out every stop to try to stop him from getting this nomination? I think that's the real question.
New York voters in exit polls said 70% of them said that the person that has the most votes, the most delegates, won the most states, they should get the nomination. But Mitch McConnell, now, and it was 60%, interestingly, in Wisconsin, where Donald Trump did not win in Wisconsin. Right. But still, the people there said the same. Mitch McConnell said, when we get a nominee at 1237, he'll actually be the candidate. If not, there'll be a second ballot. And I want delegates to pick somebody who can win. Now, when you add those comments to Mitt Romney's comments, to Karl Rove's comments, prominent people within the GOP, doesn't it sound like they want the white knight candidate and they want to defy the will of the voters and disenfranchise them?
I think, Sean, this is where there is going to be a come-to-Jesus moment for Ted Cruz at some point, and it's going to come soon. He better be really sure that all these, the delegate maneuvering that he's done, which has been good, for him, it's been a smart thing to do, but he better make sure that all these people are wrapped up for him, because he might get to that convention and find a stiletto in his back, figuratively speaking. And he will have no leverage at that point. And how much power will he have if Hillary ends up being president of the United States? How much power will any of these Republicans have? Their agenda, their foreign policy, their maybe they'll get the trade from Hillary, and maybe they'll get immigration amnesty finally from Hillary. But as far as the Supreme Court, everything that we know is so important, they'll lose it all.
My friends, this is an important point. What Laura Ingraham is saying is true. But the question becomes, don't the power brokers in the Republican Party know this? The Mitch McConnells, the Ryans, the Roves, don't they know this? Of course they do. So doesn't it bother them to lose power and leverage in the American political system? I say the answer is no. They don't give a rat's ass about the American political system anymore. They certainly don't care about the American people anymore. They care about themselves. Weasels like Karl Rove care about Karl Rove. Ryan cares about Ryan. Mitch McConnell worries about Mitch McConnell. John Boehner, Mitt Romney worry about themselves, padding their fortunes. And if America goes down in flames, well, that's okay, because they've got theirs. That's why these guys are cancer cells. These guys are poison. They are shady politics. They are the worst of politics. They're what politics has mutated into in the beginning of the 21st century, where politicians don't care about solving problems. They care about profiting from the problems. That's what scares the heck out of me. Let's go back to Laura Ingraham.
So I know all the never-Trumpers feel like they're clean and they're pure and all of that, but if the majority of Americans and most delegates of the whole group goes to the guy who doesn't get the nomination, I don't see how this is going to end up well for the Republicans. I think it's a perilous course, and if this were anyone else but Trump right now, we would be seeing a coronation over at Capitol Hill at the RNC headquarters. But because it's him, no such happening.
Not because it's Trump per se, but because Trump isn't owned. Because Trump is one of the good old boys, wink wink. Trump doesn't take millions of dollars from the special interests who are killing America. Trump is one of these shady pickpocket politicians. He's a real honest-to-goodness guy with a track record of incredible success who gains nothing from this presidential bid except the opportunity to, as he says, make America great again. And the vipers and the snakes hate it. The RNC hates it because they don't care about you. They don't care about me. They care about themselves. Let's finish up.
So the establishment is mad at how the people have voted. People, by the way, that I think have legitimate anger and frustration with the Republican Party that has promised, for example, to stop executive amnesty and repeal and replace Obamacare and use the power of the purse, things that they never got done. Didn't they, in a sense, very much create an atmosphere where people want an outsider, and now they're going to work behind the scenes, perhaps deviously, to try and, take that vote away from the people, or maybe even work against the candidate? Is that something we have to watch out for?
I don't see a lot of signs that the establishment, and even most of the big donors, are learning all that much from all of this. It would be nice if instead of the comment we heard from Mitch McConnell that he's basically looking forward to a second ballot, if someone like a McConnell, who's a smart guy, who said, we're watching what's going on, and we're hearing the people's substantive concerns, not the personality contest, not the beauty contest, but the substantive concerns they have about the trade deal, about open borders, about more foreign workers coming in, about the refugees pouring into the country. We hear you, and we're going to make some revisions. We're going to at least meet you halfway, people. But, Sean, if the party no longer represents the people on these key issues, then there really is no party.
That's exactly right. There is no party, if by party you mean a group that represents the American people. The RNC is saying, piss on all of you, we're going to do what we want to do. Well, guys, I do this radio show because I have no intention of being pissed on or spat on by professional hucksters in the RNC. And whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, you're being screwed over. You're being pissed on. So get used to it or get busy trying to stop it. Let's take a break. We'll be back. All done, guys. Get busy trying to stop it. You know how. I'll see you tomorrow.